Hello and welcome to episode 47 of the Weighing Room, where this week we are back as a trio and we'll be previewing the 7 live races on Saturday afternoon from Newmarket and York on ITV with the 23 runner Cesarewitch Handicap, one of the big talking points of the afternoon. Frankie, back with us this week. How have you been?
Oh, good, yeah. An unexpected week away, actually. I was meant to go for a couple of days to Cyprus, and then Ludlow got cancelled Wednesday, so I managed to sneak 2 extra days of sun in. But it has meant that I've came back to Gatwick last night at about 11 o'clock, and I am now back sat in Gatwick this morning to go to Ireland. So I might as well have just slept here. But no, all good and all part of the fun.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like you're living out of airports, doesn't it, at the moment? Paul, a few nice winners between us last week. Looking forward to this week's action?
Yeah, I think they were tilted on your end, James. I've had a couple of quiet weeks, so hopefully I've come armed with a couple of winners this week. So you boys are living the life, Frankie and James. I wouldn't mind being £1 or €1 behind you now, jetting off to all these places. The glamorous surroundings of the airside car park near Dublin Airport here this morning. So yeah, looking forward to the weekend after a pretty physical weekend last weekend. So it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Well, this week, as I mentioned, we'll be going through 7 live races in total, all of them live on ITV on Saturday, with Newmarket stealing the show, really. 3 lots of group action we're going to go through with the Group 1 Dewhurst, probably the big one on the day, and also obviously the big field with Handicap that we'll cover towards the end. Gents, we start this week's show off then by looking at the 150 Group 3 Zetland Stakes over 1 mile 2 furlongs. Paul, we'll give you the honour this week. Kick us off. Who do you like in the opener?
Well, just having a look at this, James. Flying Honours disappointed 2 weeks ago in the Royal Lodge at Newmarket. He finished 3rd behind Andrew Balding train the Foxes, who was ridden by David Probert. And I think if you're looking to take on the now favourite as you record Flying Honour, I think that combo of Andrew Balding and David Probert could hold the ace here with Galactic Jack, who made a pleasing debut over 8 furlongs at Goodwood back in August. He opened up his account at the second attempt at the same venue last month, showing the benefit, like so many from the stable, of that debut experience, and also benefiting from stepping up to 10 furlongs. That maiden was worth a little over 10 grand, which you'd look, it should be okay. Having said that, the 3rd was beaten at Pontefract back on Monday, so that poses a slight concern. But there obviously should be more to come from Galactic Jack, and he's my alternative against the favourite Flying Honours.
Yeah, currently about 10 to 1 in the market as we record on Friday morning. And this probably is a race that, with Flying Honours last time bombing out, even though Flying Honours is my selection in this, because I am going to give him another chance. But if you look at it and you want to go each way, there's plenty of alternatives in there. And obviously Galactic Jack's got a big chance if he can build on what he did last time out around the 10 to 1 mark. And currently is about 9, 10 to 1, about 3 or 4 horses are currently around that price. So there's definitely each way value in the race. Frankie, who do you like in the opener?
I'm going to stick with the fave, James. I think we can sometimes get carried away with when a horse goes off short and there's a bit of hype behind it and it doesn't quite perform. We can be quick to just throw it away. But I've been just watching that race back, and Flying Honours wasn't far away at all. And I think if you stuck the Foxes or the By Mile or any of those in here, really, they'd all deserve to be as short as Flying Honours is this time in the rest of the company. So for me, it's a matter of nothing else standing out enough for me to want to take on Flying Honours. And the fact that if you do watch the race back, although, yes, went off 2 to 7 or something ridiculous and came 3rd, wasn't far away and maybe just got caught out a little flat-footed on the day. So I'll stick with the Fav, although it's short. I do think it is the best formula on offer.
Yeah, I actually agree with you on this one. I think Flying Honours, I'm going to give him one last chance. I think that because he's 5 to 4 and not 2 to 7, and he's odds against, that helps with this race. I think there is each way alternatives that can be looked at. But Flying Honours, yeah, like you said, I think we are quick to judge. And a couple of the Godolphin horses came out, like Victory Dance. I think Silver Knot, who's obviously in the Autumn Stakes that we'll talk about as well. They came out and lost. Flying Honours came out and lost. And you're looking from a group of probably 5 or 6 2-year-olds. Charlie Appleby's gone. A couple of them got beat now, so you try and look for the best one. I still think Flying Honours is up there with the best of them. I think it was a very tactical race in that 4-runner Royal Lodge. And although he was 3rd, he wasn't beaten by far. I just don't think the tactics of the race suited at all. His pedigree suggests that they're going up this extra further 2 furlongs will suit him. I'm happy to play in again, but I do want to give a mention to Dear My Friend for Charlie and Mark Johnston, because there's a nice piece of form come out of the last race that horse ran in. So ran over in Deauville in a listed race. And the second that day was Blue Rose Ken, and that has come out and won the Prix Marcel Boussac on Art Weekend, and absolutely bolted up by 5 lengths. Obviously, loved the very soft ground that was over there. I think it was last week. But that's just a bit of form that's tied in nicely for that horse, and that's 7-1, and that would be my each way play in the race. But Flying Honours is my win selection, and I hope this horse goes and improves on what he's done already this season. So we move over to York for their first race on the afternoon on ITV, and it sees the listed Rockingham Stakes, where William Agus holds a strong chance with Alpha Capture at the top of the market. Frankie, are you siding with this horse or are you against it?
I am, for a similar story, in that I've gone through the rest of it. I'd say Bolt Action would probably be the horse to challenge the favourite, if any, who's probably been the most consistent at the highest level. I think 2 seconds at listed company and then one last time out. But just going through the rest of the field, and you come back to a short price Haggis favourite that won well at Carlisle, second behind Cold Case, recording an RPR of 101. The father of that Cold Case has gone on to win again. And after only 3 starts, Alpha Capture's shown more than enough, I think, to beat the rest of this field with just a little bit of improvement. So it is slightly boring, and I'm, if I'm honest, I'm sucked in by an unexposed Haggis favourite. That does add some weight, but again, the rest of the field just doesn't quite seem to be anything there that makes me want to take this favourite on. So I'm going to stick with the Fab again.
Yeah, I'm joining you with this one again. I know it's very easy to tip favourites, but if they go and win, it really doesn't matter. This horse has got by far the best form in the race. I think it's got far more to come, off its mark. And just as a horse, growing up, only 3 runs, like you say, and he's second behind Cold Case last time when that horse has gone and won the very valuable listed race last time out of Red Car. I think it's the William Hill 2-year-old trophy. That's always a race that throws out some nice horses. Cold Case, I tell you what, if you look back at that race, Alpha Capture as well, he was very unlucky to be beat by Cold Case. Cold Case just pulled out more late on. You'd hope to be more improvement from this horse. William Haggis absolutely loves having runners and winners at York. Alpha Capture, I think, is a strong bet on out of the 7 races on ITV, and I'll be joining you, Frankie, on that one. Paul, you making it a hat trick of Alpha Capture?
Yeah, it's a full house for Alpha Capture. Just want to add on top of what you've already said. I thought he showed a great attitude. I was very surprised the fact that he found so much. He raced it quite keenly in the early stages last time out. I was quite surprised by how much he found, and a bit like the Andrew Balling stable, William Haggis, when they do go to the race course, both yards generally tend to leave a little bit to work on. So he's a horse that should be improving. You'd imagine with racing experience, the more he settles, the more he should find towards the end of the race. And I think if he settles better at York on Saturday afternoon than he did last time out, he's the one they all have to beat. So it's Alpha Capture from me. If you were to look for an alternative, just got to give a mention to the Johnny Murtagh trained Bay of Plenty, ridden by Ben Cohen, who was a good winner on debut at Naas. And it's a bold shout by connection. So I wouldn't put anyone off having a small wager on Bay of Plenty, but Alpha Capture is the one they all have to beat.
Yeah, 14-1 that Johnny Murtaugh's Bay of Plenty. And obviously, you've got to look at it. I mean, you're bringing it over for this race when the York card's not the biggest in the world, is it? So another one we have got put a little mention to is Rousing Encore. Obviously, really improving last time out to finish second behind Sakira, who looks certain for the Guineas. Obviously, was going to run in the Dewhurst and was going to be supplemented, but has got a dirty scope. And Sakira's a very nice horse, and Rousing Encore's only finished 3.5 lengths behind that. That is some strong form, and at 9-2, I won't put anyone off that either. But I just think Alpha Capture is the one to beat in this one, and I think we all agree. Back to Newmarket, and it sees another group event, and it's the Group 3 Autumn Stakes over a mile. This race has seen some nice horses win over the years. Paul, who you on in this one?
It's very hard to oppose the John and Eddie Gosling train at Pictodus. I thought he was very, very good when scoring on the July course on debut. That was under Martin Harley back at the beginning of July. Frankie rode the Charlie and Mark Johnson trained runner on that occasion, which would indicate that Epictetus wasn't setting the world alight at home. But yeah, Frankie's not going to be missing out this time round, and Epictetus could be a potential star. I'm not overly keen on tipping a horse on a second start, stepping into group company, having won on debut, but they can come out if they're worried about the first day at school, so to speak. They can be a little bit keen, and you never quite know what to expect. But this horse looks a potential superstar, so it's Epictetus for me.
Yeah, I'm with you, Paul, on this one. I think the 5-2 could turn out to be a nice price at the end of the day. And the only worry I had about tipping this horse was not how it's going to run; it's how you say it. Because Epictetus, I don't know which one's right, but I really do like this horse. And look, the top three in the market, as opposed to the three below it, I would say that's where the race is going to unfold. We know a lot about Holloway Boy already. Very consistent. Obviously, won the Chesham's, come out and run into a place twice after that in some nice races. Obviously, I think it was behind Nostrum last time out, which is a very good run. And that's probably the value at 10-3. I'm not a fan of Silver, not at the top of the market at the current price. A horse I like, and although he probably was down to soft ground last time, why Silver Knot didn't run to what he should have, and I think he'll be better on this firmer ground. I just think Epictetus, of what he showed, he's just got so much more to come. And like you say before about Baldwin and Haggis, they always leave a bit in, don't they, on debut at the start of their horse. And I think Jonathan Gosden are very, very similar. I'll be very surprised if this horse doesn't go on and improve off what he's done. I think he's been waited on for a race like this to then go and have a big 3-year-old career. And also, you look at the race it won. Leadman, a nice horse. Desert Orders come out and won. Flying Honours, obviously, in there behind it as well. And we've just put up Flying Honours. The form's there. The form's there massively. And I know there is form with the other horses as well. But Epictetus for me as well, Paul, in this one. Frankie, for yourself?
I'm of a similar but slightly different opinion in that you mentioned you weren't a massive fan of Silver Knot. Epictetus could be a superstar. Holloway Boy is consistent, and that was the angle I was taking. Although last time when I looked, it was around 7-2. 11-4 is getting quite close to 5-2, and they're all pretty much near enough the same price now. So maybe the 5-2, as you said, might be the bet to play and take a chance on Epictetus. But I did my selections last night. I'm going to stick with Holloway Boy. And it was the angle of just that consistency in top races, and the fact that last time at Newmarket ran a very good race behind Nostrum, who goes again this weekend. It could be another superstar potential that we're looking at. So I'm taking the consistency angle, but certainly in agreement that those top three are where the race is going to be running. Epictetus could be a star, but I'm not going to place that bet second time around.
Yeah, it is a fascinating race. Only 6 runners, but it could really give us some indicators towards next year. And I'm just excited to see Epictetus have a second run of his career. So we go back over to York, and York's next event is the Class 2 Handicap over 1 mile 2 furlongs. Seeing a fight for favouritism at the top of the market, like the Autumn Stakes. Frankie, who did you come down on the end? We've got 2 favourites, Marching Army and Protagonist, 11 to 4 at the top of the market. Are you there, or are you going elsewhere?
I'm not. I'm just checking I'm not on mute before I say anything else. I'm going with Stay Well. That's a tricky one, this, isn't it? And the market says that 5-2, 11-4, 6s and 7s at the bottom. So it's quite hard to split these lot. Stay Well ran a decent race behind one of the Fabs, Marching Army, last time out, and now gets about £5 or £6 off of Marching Army when looking back at that last race. And I just think this is a horse that has not necessarily been unlucky, but has been there or thereabouts off of similar marks, and has just been on that steady incline this season, and hopefully can now start to kind of put that to good use off a marker 96. I'm always trying to find a horse in a handicap that is on the incline, or has maybe missed out last time out. But I like these ones that their marks just steadily on the climb, and they've been doing nothing too wrong. Yes, he hasn't been winning races, but hasn't been far away, and maybe this could be Stay Well's chance to capitalise on that. And as I said, that swing in the weights with the Fab looks good enough to me as well to maybe reverse that form. So Stay Well for me.
Yeah, stay well. 13-2 in the market for Huey Morrison. Definitely got a big chance. Paul, for yourself in this one?
Yeah, well, I think March Army and Protagonist are worthy of being towards the top of the betting market, but as Frankie said, there's not much between it, a lot of these, and I'm going to take a chance on the Pete Douglas train. What's the story? Partnered by jockey Danny Tudhope. He ran well to finish second behind the consistent Guido and last seen back on the 17th of September. His last visit to York, he finished second at 5. That was back in July. He's never too far away, and even when you look at his run in the John Smiths, that was also at York back in early July. He finished 10th at 22, but he was only beaten 5.5 lengths by the winner. And I think once again, at a bit of a price, what's the story? He shouldn't be too far away.
Yeah, what's the story? This is a really tough race. 6-1. What's the story currently in the market as we record? And it is a very, very tough race. And the one I came down on the end. Look, when we're doing these podcasts, we have to put something up for all the race on ITV. It's probably not a race, the best race of the day I'd have a bet in. Personally, I think it's too competitive to get involved from a betting angle. But if you're looking just for the winner, I think Protagonist, I'm going to give him another go because I did put him up for the Cambridgeshire. He was drawn on the wrong side of the track. He was running absolutely superbly. And just because he had to do a lot to get in position to try and track the other side of the field. Also, he was up £7 from his run before the win before that. He maybe just took his toll when he was doing so much up front. And ultimately, Protagonist blew up. And I just think it was a case of bad luck on the day. Personally, I don't think Protagonist is a bad horse or gone at the game at all from that one run. And I'm happy to play Protagonist again because I think there is more to come, especially in a smaller race like this. Like I said, he was up £7 last time. He's on a mark of 97, exactly the same mark here. I don't think it was a case of the horse couldn't run off 97. I think it was just that he did too much early on the wrong side of the track. I was happy to play him again in this smaller event, and I just think what he's done so far in his career, he's been very, very progressive from obviously joining William Haggas from Jessica Harrington. But I do think he won't go off favourite. I think Marching Army will go off sole favourite, and I think you might get a slightly bigger 3-1 on Protagonist, and I think that's probably the nicer price to take in the race. It's not a massive opinion from me on this race, but I would be playing Protagonist. Obviously, as well, William Haggas, he's going in search of that Trainers' Championship, isn't he? So every win counts at this stage. It's very, very close. With Charlie Appleby leading up to that last weekend on Ascot. The feature event of the afternoon on Saturday, from a class angle from Newmarket, is the Group 1 Darley Dewhurst Stakes over 7 furlong. A race that all flat racing fans wait for, really, coming to the end of the season, because this is the top juveniles, gives us massive indicators for the 2,000 guineas at the start of next season. And this race, although 7 runners, hasn't disappointed really from a class angle, has it? Nostrum at the top of the market was 5-1 at an anti-post stage, now about 13-8 favourite. Navy Power 7-2, Chaldine 4-1, Aesop's Fable 13-2, and then you got 14-1 bar them. Frankie, we'll start with you. Who are you siding with?
I am going away from the favourite, although Nostrum could be a superstar, really. This is what makes his race exciting, isn't it? Like you said, as we look towards 2000 next year. Given the selection of Holloway Boy, and Nostrum beat Holloway Boy fairly comfortably, that would be the obvious choice for me to just follow that form line. But I can't get away from Aesop's Fables, who went off very short at the Curragh in what was a Group 1. And soft ground that day might have been the issue. We'll find out, I guess. And that's the game you play on. You try and, you wait and see what these horses do. But to go off that short in a Group 1, there's been a lot of hype around this horse. And previous to that, looked a very, very smart horse. I think has now come into a bit of a price. And playing that each way, although there's only 7 runners, 11-2 on Aesop's Fables, in the hope that horse is as good as what I thought it was going to be at the Curragh, and soft ground maybe that day was the issue. It's going to be the bet for me. So yeah, I'm with the Irish here.
Yeah, it's not like you, is it, to be with the Irish?
I know. It's because I spent so much time there, I think.
Oh yeah, Aesop's Fables. It's a really interesting horse, because you've got to take note, haven't you, when Aidan O'Brien does come on over, especially in this race, winning it with St Mark's Basilica 2 years ago, and that horse turned out. I'm not saying Aesop's Fables is going to turn out to be that horse, but you've got to take note. And even though the 7 runners, I'll be surprised if some bookmakers don't go 3 places at one stage during the day. So you might be able to grab a bit of value there. Paul, who's your selection in the Group 1?
I quite like Chaldy, Callaghan and Frankie Dettori. He's 3 victories from 4 starts. He's been progressing nicely since taking a novice stakes event under David Probert. That was back in July at Newbury. He then took the Group 3 Acomb Stakes at York back in August under Ryan Moore. He won the Group 3 Champagne Stakes at Doncaster last time out, back on the 11th of September under Frankie Dettori. Frankie keeps the mount here, and I think Shaldine will go very close in this one.
Yeah, I'm scared of Shaldine against my my selection, because you just know exactly what Frankie's going to do. He's going to go out in front and say, "Come and catch me." And if you're good enough, horse, you'll catch this horse. But for the last 3 races, no one's been good enough, and he's beat some quite nice horses. I have a lot of respect for Naval Power. I think Naval Power is a quality horse. Obviously, like we were talking earlier, Godolphin have got a lot of nice 2-year-olds, and they obviously really like this one. He is dropping back from a mile to 7 furlongs. That would be my worry. He was so impressive last time at the mile. So when I came down to it, and when I put Nostrum up last time out, I just was so impressed. And Nostrum, for me, is the one that everyone's got to beat. And I know it's the 13-8 favourite, but I think it's justified as well. He's still unexposed when compared to the field. And Sir Michael Stout doesn't normally get it wrong, does he? I was surprised at Chaldine staying in the race really with Nostrum as well. That was a little bit off-putting, because if Nostrum's good enough, you wouldn't need Chaldine, but Chaldine might be up there as well, and that might be the value at 4-1. But I just really like this Nostrum. A winner on his first start of 7 furlongs at Sandown when bolting up. He absolutely bolted up by close to 4 lengths, and you could see that day there was improvement to come. He then went to the Group 3 Tattersall Stakes over course and distance at Newmarket, and it was a tactical 4-runner race, but there are some really good horses in there. Like we've mentioned, Holloway Boy was in there. We know his form. Victory Dance, who was talked about by Godolphin as being one of their best, was battered really. So again, I think there's improvement to come. It is a fairly quick turnaround. Like there's a few horses this weekend. I think he'll take that in his stride. And I think he's a Group 1 winner in waiting. I think he's going to have a massive career as a 3-year-old. And I just hope he can finish his 3-year-old career off by landing this race. So it's Nostrum for me. So the last race from York on ITV this weekend. It's another tricky event. It is the Coral Sprint Trophy Handicap over 6 furlongs. Frankie, 22 runners head to post for this one. Who's your most likely shout for a winner? It's tough, isn't it?
It's very tough. That's what I'm going with too. Give myself any chance I can. Play 2 horses and extra places where we can find them. Mr. Wagyu, I just think it's one of those that if you can find a bookmaker that does plenty of extra places, around 10s, 11s, should be there or thereabouts. Very consistent in handicaps, all kind of running off the mark of around 103, 104, goes up to 104 this weekend. 6 furlongs has been just performing, as I said, in the mixer at that distance in these sorts of events all season. So I'm not saying, got a chance to win, but I'm just hoping that Mr. Wagyu, if you find a decent amount of places at a price that double figures, would be worth an each way bet, in my opinion. One a bit further down, which I think you're kind of taking a chance on, but around 20s or 25s, Giza Sub, I think, could be overpriced. Also, if you go back and Giza Sub's career running in group races, winning the Commonwealth at Ascot, and it's been gelded since, and then come out and been slightly disappointing in 2 handicaps. But this weekend goes off of 96, a small drop in the weights from 99, was unlucky at Ayr, went a bit short of room, and I just think off of previous performance, not sure what effect the gelding operation has had, and maybe it's taking a little bit of time after that to get back into the swing of things. Now for 96, I think could be overpriced. So Giza Sub is my selection.
Yeah, Giza Sub 25-1. Obviously, it's worth having a bit of a poke, isn't it, in this race at a bigger price. So yeah, Giza Sub at 25s. And who was the other one against? Sorry?
Mr. Wagyu, bit near the
Yeah,
top.
Mr. Wagyu. The thing with Mr. Wagyu is, I think from a price perspective, he's definitely got a big chance. But if you actually look at his form, it's absolutely astounding. He only wins in like June and July. He just absolutely loves that month. And there's got to be something to it where John Quinn must prepare him absolutely specialist for those months. But if you look outside, he very rarely wins. So that's the only reason why I would be against Mr. Wagyu from a win selection. But he always runs his race. And 11-1, he's got big each way value. Paul, for yourself in this one?
I'm going to stay loyal to Lucky Man, who I tipped up on his last run. He managed to finish 4th to 24, despite being slow away from the gates. That was in the Air Gold Cup. He was beaten less than 2 lengths by the winner, Summer Gans, and Peter McDonald, who was on board on that occasion, once again keeps the ride for trainer Richard Spencer. So I'm staying loyal to Lucky Man.
Yep, I'm joining you here. I think Lucky Man's a great price, around 11-1. Highly consistent horse, isn't he? Lucky Man, just off the back of this season, ran frequently, but if you look at his runs, he likes racing frequently. 11 races so far this term, placing in 9 of them, including 3 wins in some valuable handicaps. He just very rarely runs a bad race. Rising through the handicap, 2 starts ago over course and distance, he got back to winning ways after some nice frame runs when taking a 13 runner class 2 handicap, up £5 for that to a mark of 96. He was 4th of 24 in the Air Gold Cup. That's good enough for me. That's a tough handicap to go and win. And to get it close as he did in 4th was absolutely brilliant. I think he's off the same mark here. He's got a decent draw, double figure price. He's got massive each way claims again. And I was happy to play Lucky Man like yourself, Paul. So the final event on Saturday from ITV is the big one. It is the 23 runner Cesarewitch Handicap. It's what the 2-day meeting's built around, really, isn't it? And it's always a tricky betting angle for all of us here. Paul, we'll let you start. Who are you going for?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with another runner that I tipped up previously on the pod. I'm going to stick with Inchicore. I think can give you a good run for your money. She has 3 victories to her name from 13 starts. She ran all right to finish 3rd behind Going Gone and HMS President at Doncaster last bout. She's like I said, she's a mare that I've tipped up on the pod before, so I'm going to stay loyal to Inchicore. And I also think if settling better and getting into a rhythm, Ranch Hand can reward each way supporters. Can be a little bit in and out, but I think that's due to the style of racing. He can over race in the early stages, but I do think if he's set and is on his best behaviour, Ranch Hand can play a part. But I think Inchicore is the more solid selection.
Yeah, 2 nice each way selections there, and obviously with a big field of 23, there will be extra pace on offer. So definitely be good to see them run close. Thank you for yourself in this one.
It's a good race, isn't it? Brilliant race. You've got Ryan Moore and Nicky Henson at the top, Scaramanga, Mullins horse that used to be with Nichols. Keith Dalglish evaluation. I'd love to see that horse win after a very, very near miss for that big prize Sky Bet Sunday part on the final Sunday. I was there that day and connections were screaming at home. So I'd love to see that go close, but I can't back it. I did try and find a little angle in with evaluation just to have a bit of heart. I'm going with Zoffy. Another old 2-mile chaser for Philip Hobbs, now with Hugo Palmer and Frankie Dettori taking the ride. I think that's a combination you don't see too often. This is another horse that, as I mentioned in one of the first handicaps we talked about, that's just been on that steady incline since going to Hugo Palmer. And I get the feeling that they're doing a decent job with this horse and taking their time with it, because slowly going up in the weights, 3rd, 1st, 1st, 3rd, 7th, 3rd. It's been picking up some wins along the way. They haven't been getting too carried away with it, and still looks like it could perform. 3rd at Newmarket last time Zoffy ran here, was in a decent race when the Tory Brook had the ride that day. The 3rd last time out was travelling really, really well, and then was a little bit shorter in. Although I wouldn't get massively carried away in running with this horse, because it does travel well. It looks like it's going to win every time, and doesn't always quite pick up as quick as you'd like it to. But as I said, on the incline, climbing in the weights, but climbing in ability too, and winning along the way. So with the Tory booked and back at Newmarket, Zoffy for me at 16-1. I think it's a great shot.
Yes, Zoffy is a horse I've liked for a long time, and I did put that horse up for when it won the consolation race, the Northumberland Plate. So Zoffy at 16-1's definitely got a chance. I played 2 in this race. I think 23 runners you've got to with extra places on offer. And the first one I'm going to go with, you can't ignore Willie Mullins in this race, can you? It's just which one you pick. I was to and fro between Gibraltar and Baby Zeus. And I've come down on Baby Zeus in the end. Who is the bigger price of the two? Not so much anymore. When I was looking through the races yesterday, obviously ahead of this show, Baby Zeus around 20 to 1. I've looked this morning, can't believe my eyes, about 14 to 1. It's getting shorter. But I'm still happy to play at 14 to 1. Obviously, second in this race last year, this partnership, William Buick and Willie Mullins on Burning Victory. The partnership team up again. Willie Mullins has won 3 of the last 4 renewals of this race. So he knows what type of horses are needed to win this race. And if you look at the horses he ran in the Irish Cesarewitch, Echoes in Rain and Lot of Joy, obviously went close. He probably could have saved them for this one, but he knew he had these in reserve. So I'm happy with the horses he brought over. But this Baby Zeus is so interesting that I really quite like it for the race. In 2021, moved from Girl Lions to Mullins and won on his first start for New Yard. And that was over 1 mile 2 at the Curragh. This has been a bit of a work in progress. Build him up over different trips. And I think he will get the 2 mile 2 in this race. He was staying on the mark in the early 90s. He was slowly moved up in trip, like I said, but he couldn't get back to the form of his debut run. And it just seems like everything's been every single race has been built towards this Cesarewitch. He was upped in trip to 2 mile 3 to see if he'll stay, and that was on hurdles debut. And he didn't jump bad, and you can see Mullins probably send him over hurdles for the jump season. Sent back on the flat in July at the Galway Festival. He put up a nice effort to finish 3rd of 18 over 1 mile 4. He was £1 lower when last seen over 1 mile 5, and he was a decent 60 in a big run, 23 runner handicap at Leopardstown. He's still on a marker 92. He's going back up in trip. He just looks set up for this race. And as I said, was 20 to 1 yesterday. He's obviously appealed to someone else in the market because at 14 to 1 today, I think that's still playable. And he would be my first selection in the Cesarewitch. But as I said, I've got 2, and I've got to put an English one up as well. And it is Vino Victrix. The only problem I have with this horse is he's drawn in stall 2. And I think with Baby Zeus, he's drawn in stall 22. I'd much prefer to be over that side. It was like Protagonist in the Cambridgeshire. It was just over the wrong side. But with further to run in this, hopefully he can get across and get involved in the race. Because if Vino Victrix does, at around 16 to 1, he's got an absolute massive chance. As I said, for Hughie Morrison, Benoit de la Salle takes the ride. Was on him last time when winning, so they've got no problem with that booking. He's been steadily stepped up in trip as well, like Baby Zeus this horse. He made his seasonal debut at Kempton over 1 mile 4 furlongs, when 3rd in a Class 3 event. Over the same course and distance, he's below par, probably his worst run. He was 4th, but it's just looked like he's been building it up. Took a step up in trip when Morrison sent him back to Kempton over 2 miles, and he was a good second over behind Master Milliner. Master Milliner obviously came out off the back of that and won a 2 mile 4 furlong handicap at Glorious Goodwood, which is good form. Second again at Kempton over 2 miles, dropping into a slightly weaker race. But last time out, he got back to winning ways at Goodwood, back on turf, where he beat the smart Malakahana for Ian Williams, and he gave a stone away that day. That Malakahana has since come out and won a nice staying event at Ascot. Vino Victrix gone at £4 for that win, off a marker 92. I think that's no problem. Obviously, Benoit de la Salle takes off 3 again. 16 to 1. If he gets over from stall 2, I think he's got a big chance. So for me, Baby Zeus and Vino Victrix, both each way prices would be my selections in the Cesarewitch. Right then, lads, that's all the races covered. You know what time it is now. It is nap time this week. Frankie, we'll start with you this week. We'll give you the honour. Who are you going for?
God, I could go either end, really. Flying on as the shorty to kick us off. That would be the obvious choice, but I just feel it's a bit boring. I'm going to go Zoffy each way. I think he's got a great chance in the big one. Look, we weren't actually all on Flying on us. We were up when it got beat. That would probably be the obvious choice, but I don't want to go with that. Zoffy each way, I think, has to be in the places in the big race, big handicap. So yeah, Zoffy for me.
Okay, Zoffy for you. Frankie, Paul for yourself.
I think every selection, genuinely I think every selection that we've made, tipped up this weekend, I think has a right chance. It's a real competitive, a cracking weekend awaits. But I've gone with Alpha Capture in the 205, the Rockingham at York. I think despite Johnny Murtagh taking over Bay of Plenty, Alpha Capture is the one they all have to beat in the 205 at York on Saturday afternoon. And I have to give one for Dundalk. We're recording Friday morning. We got Dundalk to look forward to later on this evening. And I think in the last, I think Alarus for Kevin Prendergast and Chris Hayes will take the beating. Alarus was second over a mile and 2 at Dundalk when last seen back on the 23rd of September. Was a good winner over a mile and a half at Tremor the time before. Nicely drawn in stall 8. I think Alarus will take the catching in the lucky last at Dundalk.
Lovely.
You're always on it, Paul.
We always love an Irish selection from you, Paul, so that's good. As you could see when you were reading out your nap for the pod, though, I was nodding away like a Churchill dog. Alpha Capture for me as well. I know. We don't want to go the same, but I just think Alpha Capture is the best bet out of those 7 races on the podcast this week, and around the 15 to 8 mark. Even though there is some dangers from different horses, I just think this goes and wins with the form with Cold Case. So Alpha Capture as well for me. To finish off the show. Right then, lads, that's it for this week. A cracking weekend of flat action awaits. Obviously, as we record today on Friday, the jumps gets going at Chepstow as well. So obviously, we're looking forward to watching that. But thanks as ever, lads, for your selections, and hopefully we found some winners. And like you said, Paul, I do like a lot of what we put up this week, even though it's competitive. I like a lot of what we put up. So yeah, please be sure to like this video, comment your selections below for the weekend. If you have any other nap selections, put them in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to the Winners Enclosure channel for plenty of other racing content. All the best, wherever you're back in this weekend. And lads, thanks again.